Hi, I'm Joe Rotella with Proxxon tools on the set of Make It Artsy. And we've set up an entire workshop in about a 7-foot space and used it to make a clock. And that's one of the best features of Proxxon's bench tools is their size. But it's combined with Proxxon's name. Since the 70s when they were started, they built precision tools, super high quality. I love using them. And when you have several combined, well, you can make just about anything. I start with the table saw. Now, the table saw has a very small footprint. It's only about 12 by 12 by maybe 6 inches high. But you can extend the table out so that if you're working with a larger piece, you have that support. Here is your rail if you're going to be doing any sort of rip cuts. Of course, you're not going to use that if you're doing a cross cut, and it just slides right back into place. There's a really nice safety guide here so that the blade is never exposed. And as you're cutting, this guide stays in place. And of course, we can raise and lower the blade to accommodate whatever thickness that we're working with. There's a pusher too. We can not only cut at a 90 degrees, but you can angle this so you can do a mitered cut as well. Most of the Proxxon bench tools have an attachment in the back where you can attach your vacuum hose, so it's going to pull all the dust while you're working. We can even angle the blade if we need to do that kind of a miter cut. Next, we come over to the bandsaw. And what I love about the bandsaw is how tight you can do a curve when you're trying to cut a circle. You have about a 6-inch throat here. So that tells you how wide the piece can be on this side of the blade. Real sturdy table. Again, we have an attachment to take any of the sawdust from what you're working on. It's not going to be all over your studio. And most of the blades will cut a variety of materials: softwood, hardwood, non-ferrous metals, circuit boards, plastic. There's a guide here that you use to adjust up and down based on the thickness of your material, and that's going to help the material prevent it from wobbling back there behind the blade. And of course, we can adjust the speed. It's just a simple dial here depending on what you're trying to cut. Of course, anything you cut could end up with a slightly rough edge, and that's where the disc sander comes into place. Very sturdy, very quiet. A real nice table here to hold your work, and of course, the table can angle. So if you want to sand at an angle, you can do that as well. The other cool thing about the sander is we can remove the entire table feature, turn it up. This is all removed, and now you're using it as a flat sander that's attached with a clamp to your bench. The sandpaper itself is easy to change. It's basically self-stick right onto the back of the sander. And then the drill press. It has an 11-inch column. That's going to give you the height. We can remove this, and there's 3 different settings for the torque. That's going to give you the power behind it. It comes with collets, and that goes down to 1/64th of an inch. That's a 1/2 millimeter, all the way up to a 1/4 inch. There's also a chuck attachment that I'm using here. I prefer the chuck rather than the collets just because they fit all the bits that I have real easy to tighten those up with the chuck. So here on a 7-foot space, we went from rip cuts and cross cuts to beautiful curved cuts to sanding and finishing to then drilling in this relatively small space, and a clean space as well, because again, we can attach our vacuum to pull out all that dust. Proxxon gives me precision, quality tools, and their benchtop tools give me an entire workshop in a very little space.